So I will add another application of IoT, societal IoT. Now what we're now seeing actually with the digital revolution is a perfect storm. Suddenly we have cloud computing and big data, we have artificial intelligence, cognitive computing, Internet of Things, blockchain technology, self-driving cars, and all this is suddenly here and comes together and it's reshaping the world. So we'll not just have Industry 4.0, we'll also have Finance 4.0, the Economy 4.0, and Society 4.0. And what does it mean? Could Google be president one day? Well, in fact, there was recently the proposal that IBM Watson should run for presidency. And in fact, we have a lot of data, big data, within just 1 minute. 700,000 Google queries are being sent by us, 500,000 Facebook posts, and as we go shopping, as we move around, all of that creates data traces that are collected, and this data can be used for a lot of things, to gain insights, to do business, and that's why people say data is the new oil. Yeah, I mean, we can make trillions of money with that new kind of resource, a resource that can be created everywhere. But actually, people have even more visionary approaches, and one of them, a guru of big data, was Chris Anderson, who had this dream that we would see the end of theory. If we just had enough data, he thought we wouldn't need science anymore, the truth would just reveal itself. And the question is that really true? Can we know everything? Can we now basically see what's going on in any corner of the world in real time? And could we turn that into power and into solutions for a better world? For example, could we create a crystal ball that would be able even to foretell some future? Well, that sounds maybe a little bit too ambitious for some people, but in fact, in the Silicon Valley and in other places, projects cannot be ambitious enough, right? In fact, the military is working on this, and a number of companies are working on this. And so the question comes up, with so much data, would it now be possible to optimize the world and to rule it like a wise king or like a benevolent dictator? So if the truth reveals itself, we would just have to do the right thing. That's the idea over there. And let's see, who thinks we should be doing this? Please raise your arms. A few, but the great majority actually is skeptical. So, could society now be run like a giant machine? That's the kind of question that computer engineers are asking, and many other people. And if you wanted to do this, then basically we would have to know what are all the pieces that make up society. We would be part of it, of course. How do these pieces interact? How do they function? And how can they be manipulated, right? And in fact, scientists and engineers are working on these questions, and Google wants to reprogram, in fact, the state. They want to come up with an operating system, not just for a computer or a smartphone, but for the entire society, right? The idea is to run the society with a giant, super intelligent computer system. And who besides IBM would be most suited to doing this? Well, Google comes to mind, of course. Google is aiming at omnipresence, to be everywhere in any corner of the world. They're working on omniscience, so to know everything that's out there in the world, collect all the data about even what's happening in your home, with Google Nest, for example. And then what's missing is omnipotence, but they're working on this too. So the point is really, can Google influence our emotions, our thinking, our behavior? And in fact, they're trying to do that. They're doing millions of experiments with us every day to find out how we can be made to click certain links, to see certain kind of information. They're steering our attention, and with this also our decision making and our opinions and our behavior to some extent. And that technology has been developed for personalized advertisement, it means for business. And it's also getting more and more interesting for politics, in fact, where it's called nudging. And if that technology of behavioral economics that is called combined with big data of our behavior, with all the data that has been collected about us in a secret way, then we call that big nudging. That big nudging is quite efficient because it's personalized. We won't notice that we're being manipulated. It feels like we're taking an own decision, but in fact we're prompted to take a certain decision. And Google certainly has a huge manipulation powers around the world, right? So most search requests in the USA and in North America are done with Google, and also in South America, in Europe, 90% of Google queries are, search queries are being done with Google. And there's also India, Australia, and so on. Now, Larry Page certainly is ambitious. He likes the moonshot projects, and he said, there are a lot of things that we'd like to do, but unfortunately we cannot do that because they're illegal. And so the question is, what is going on? Certainly our society is now at the crossroads. It's possible to create different kinds of data-based or data-driven societies, and that's why we need to make up our mind and choose one of these kinds of societies of governance. Now, in the Silicon Valley also, some people say democracy is an outdated technology. Let's get rid of it. It has brought wealth and health and happiness for billions of people in the entire world, but now we want to do something new. And the question is, what would that be? So one of these possible models of a data-driven society could be called feudalism 2.0. Some people call it the big other society or surveillance capitalism. And in fact, some experts judge that this is actually going on right now. Another model would be fascism 2.0, something like a big brother or brave new world society. Also that seems to be on the way in some countries. And communism 2.0, the big mother society, the benevolent dictator that's trying to tell everyone what's good for us. And that's what we should do. So the caring state, maybe the overly caring state maybe. And in fact, we are seeing recently that a lot of countries are saying goodbye to democracy, and I think this is related with that debate. We see that in Turkey, we see that in Poland, we're seeing it in France, and I also think that other countries are in danger of losing democracy. So I feel we may lose everything that we built over hundreds of years, lessons learned in 2 world wars. We might lose freedom, self-determination, human dignity, assumed innocence, fairness, justice, the right to pursue our own happiness, pluralism, democracy, security, peace, and maybe even our jobs with the automation that's now going on with artificial intelligence. So I think we should think twice. Maybe we should engage in a different way of digitization of our society. Because there's also democracy 2.0 and capitalism 2.0. But that would be more bottom-up. We would have a bigger role as citizens and entrepreneurs. Creativity and innovation would have more place. Now, why do I think we need this? Because so far, the digitization hasn't solved our main problems. So we still have this financial, economic, and spending crisis. Peace is pretty unstable in the world, so there's conflict and war in many places. We haven't solved the climate change challenge. and our main problem, which is the lack of sustainability. That means upcoming resource shortages. And even if you look at cities, I mean, there's this big issue of smart cities, right? That are supposed to be kind of paradise cities. If you look into the list of top 10 cities in the world from the point of view of livability, of quality of life, then interestingly enough, none of those big IT nations is among this list. San Francisco is not there. I would expect to see San Francisco here. So what are we doing wrong? Are we using data in the right way? And the answer is no, we haven't actually understood the digital revolution well enough. And in order to understand it, we need to look at this graph over here. So we're coming from a time when there was not enough data to take good decisions. And now with big data, we can certainly take evidence-based decisions. It turns out to be more difficult actually than expected because there are a lot of correlations and patterns that are meaningless and don't have a causal meaning. So we need to be careful in the way we are using big data. This is just a note here. And what is interesting is processing power is exploding exponentially. It's called Moore's Law. Every 18 months, it's doubling. But the data volume is increasing even faster. It's doubling every 12 months. And that means within just 1 year, we're producing as much data as in all the years taken together in history. It's almost unimaginable, right? But that means that basically data volume is overtaking processing power, and the gap is increasing over time. That means the percentage of data we can process is reducing over time. And that means we need science to know what are those data that we need to look at and how. So science is back. Now there's another point. The digital revolution also increases connectivity a lot. And that actually increases systemic complexity in a combinatorial way. And it means that this curve is overtaking even the data volume. So we are in a paradoxical situation that even though we have more data and more technology than ever, we're getting more and more trouble to control those complex systems that are emerging. So we're losing top-down control. I mean, the discussion at the World Economic Forum this year made that pretty clear. And we need a new control paradigm, which is distributed control, and this is actually where the Internet of Things can play a major role. Now, if you were the president or a chancellor of a country, which of those growth curves would you choose? Would you choose the blue curve? That means to limit everything by processing power. Would you choose the green curve, or would you choose the red curve? Well, probably the red one, right? It has most growth implied. But in fact, what we're doing at the moment, we're choosing this curve over here. So processing power determines what we're doing. And the idea is that we should try to optimize systems, I mean the entire world in fact, in a top-down way. We just need enough supercomputer power and artificial intelligence. And then once we have figured out the optimal solution, we could tell everyone, like you and you and you and you, what you should be doing, right? So this one needs to go here, right? So it's pretty clear what everyone's job would have to be according to this picture. Yeah? We would have to subordinate ourselves. That's kind of the implication of this optimization idea. Now, this is very much limiting what we can do, of course. Not only we wouldn't like it, it's actually bad for our economy and our society, because this is what we want. Combinatorial opportunities, combinatorial innovation. As we know it from Lego, we can do thousands, millions of different things with Lego because it can be used in different ways. It's not telling you where to put every single piece, right? And that creates this red growth curve basically. So we have a different paradigm over here, which is not optimization, but co-evolution, and that needs freedom, right? Which unfortunately we're restricting more and more. So the paradigm for the future is to build an information, innovation, production, and service ecosystem. It's built on co-repetition, co-learning, co-creation, co-innovation, collective intelligence, and enables this combinatorial innovation through interoperability, so you can combine existing products and services to build new products and services, and this combinatorial explosion. And that needs open data, at least to some extent. Of course, open data has a lot of advantages. It allows us all to take better decisions. It can fuel digital democracy by enabling participation. It can fuel the digital economy by creating new jobs or allowing us to come up with our own business ideas. And in fact, there's a huge potential of open data of $3 to $5 trillion per year. That means there's something in for everyone, in principle. So we should build a new real-time open data source, like something like a real-time data Wikipedia, one could say. And we have actually started to work on this concept, and actually a proof of concept. We call this platform NervousNet. It's aiming to be a planetary nervous system in the sense that we build all together. And how do we do that? So we're coming down to the societal IoT. So in principle, we can use our smartphones because Google is not giving us a lot of data. Facebook is not doing this. No, we are, as citizens, we're data poor. And most companies are data poor in a sense compared to Google and so on. So why don't we produce our own data? And we can do that with our smartphones, but also additional sensors that we could put everywhere in our house, in our garden, wherever we like. And in a smartphone, there are about 15 sensors, and these can measure acceleration, and location, and noise, and all sorts of things. And these smartphones could be connected with each other to build a global measurement system together. So we can use that to measure our environment together. But if we want to do this, we certainly want to have a system that we can trust, a system that doesn't spy on us. And that's why we should be running this Internet of Things, the societal Internet of Things, as a citizen web. We build it together, manage it together, and it's important that it's a system that we can control, informational self-control. So in our system, you can decide what are the sensors that you want to open, whether you want to use these sensors just for yourself, or whether you want to share these data. The data are collected in a decentralized way, in an anonymized way. And what we're building is an open source participatory system that creates new opportunities for everyone, because if set up well, enabling users, customers, citizens will lead to better services, better products, better businesses, better neighborhoods, smarter cities, and smarter societies. Now, NervousNet allows you to engage in 3 different ways. You can produce data yourself, you can use some of this data for data analytics, and you can build your own Internet of Things apps. You can also contribute to the creation of the entire NervousNet platform, right? So, like Linux or OpenStreetMap, you can be part of it. I really invite you to be part of this, because NervousNet could do a lot of things for us. Real-time measurement, greater awareness, advanced science, create self-organizing systems, and support collective intelligence. And I'd like to go a little bit into details over here. So I think it's really important that we now use the Internet of Things to measure the external effects of interactions between companies and with the environment, and maybe even between people, and quantify them, give them a value, and come up actually also with possibility to trade those externalities. So there would be new financial markets, in fact. Now, for example, we can map noise and stress easily together in a crowdsourced way. We can use acceleration data to jointly detect earthquakes, for example. So if all our smartphones would start shaking, then that would be an earthquake. We would want our friends and family to be warned so they can get out in a safe place in time. And then greater awareness can be created with these data. It's possible to make things visible that we can see with our eyes, that we can't hear, we can't feel, such as social capital. That's very important actually for our economy and our society. Reputation, trust, solidarity, all of these things can now be measured in principle. We can map crisis, and so on. But there's even more interesting applications, and that relates to real-time feedback, which would enable self-organizing systems, autonomous systems, you could also say. So I'm claiming that 300 years after the invention of the invisible hand, and this concept, right? We can finally make it work using the Internet of Things and combining it with complexity science to find the right kind of feedback such that the system would self-organize in a favorable way, right? So this is really the point, to find the right kind of feedback loops that would do the job, that would create a certain structure or properties or functionality of complex systems. And in principle, you can do that on multiple levels, from the unit of a company up to the company, up to an entire economy. And you can do that from your home, the quarter of town, the entire city, the region, a nation, and the entire world. Now, the advantage of this approach is that this is happening bottom up with incentive systems, okay? But it leaves you these freedoms of creativity and innovation. It's not telling you top down what you have to do, right? You can come up with better ideas, which is very important to solve the problems that we're faced with. So one of the problems that we can actually overcome is congestion. So what you're seeing here is a computer simulation of a mathematical model that describes the jam formation of stop-and-go waves, and it looks more or less realistic. Of course, you could make it even nicer, but anyway, you see that we understand this phenomenon, and now we will elevate ourselves out of this car, so we use a drone in a sense to fly over this freeway and see what is actually the reason for this terrible traffic jam. And it's those cars that try to get on the freeway that basically disrupt the flow on the freeway a little bit, and that disruption is being amplified and creates the stop-and-go traffic. Now, assume we would actually equip those cars, or just 30% of them, with radar sensors that measure the distance and relative velocity, and we would let those cars drive automatically in a slightly different way. The keyword is mechanism design, to change the interaction mechanism in such a way that the cars would organize themselves differently. In this case, the traffic flow would be stabilized and the capacity of the freeway would go up. That's interesting. So we have also applied a similar decentralized approach actually to improve traffic flows in cities. And here the point is that we have the traffic flows control the traffic lights rather than the other way around. Again, bottom up rather than top down. And this flexible response actually creates wonderful green waves and a lot more efficiency, less waiting times, less CO2, less other emissions, less noise, and it's good for the environment too. And such decentralized approaches are also becoming more and more used in other complex systems, such as our electricity grids. Keyword is smart grids, decentralized energy production, intelligent consumption, and we're doing similar things also in industry, where now basically those products can talk to the machines and they can talk to other products and so on. So it's also possible to do that on a societal scale. That means organize ourselves in a bottom-up way with the support of digital assistants that help us actually to interact more successfully with the environment and with other people. Reputation systems are important in this connection. And there's still 24 minutes here. So, it's here. So, in a diverse world, we need to create more interoperability, and we need to learn to combine the success principles of different cultures in new ways to solve the problems that we're faced with. What is really important is that we learn to create collective intelligence to master our future. The world is so complex, no single person can understand it fully, no supercomputer, no super intelligent system, so we need to learn to combine our knowledge and ideas and that of artificially intelligent systems in a way that benefits us all. Man-machine symbiosis. And in fact, the interesting thing about collective intelligence is that not the single individual best solution wins. By combining different solutions, you get better solutions, so diversity wins, not the best. And in order to use this, we need to create online deliberation platforms where people can put their ideas, their arguments on a table, on their virtual table. We can sort them into different perspectives on the complex problems, and then people could sit together on a round table to try to integrate those different perspectives and create innovative, integrated, better solutions. And this is what digital democracy is about, democracy 2.0. So we can build and we can make democracy efficient, and it's time to do this. But not only this, we also need to upgrade capitalism. And there's now a chance with the Internet of Things and combining it with the blockchain technology and complexity science to build a liberal, democratic, participator, social and ecological kind of capitalism, what was not possible before. So this is amazing, and it's needed because the resource crisis that we are running into require us to build a circular economy to keep the resources in the system as long as possible. And the sharing economy is actually part of a better resource usage. So we need certainly now to map resources and to use them, and we've started to build an app for this called SwarmPal, so we can map the environment together. But we need more than that. We need actually a multi-dimensional incentive and reward system that allows us to trade those externalities and create incentives to reduce waste, to reuse waste and all these kind of things, reuse resources. And actually, as we do measurements of our environment, as we measure those externalities and share that data with others, we could also make it possible that people earn money for this in a bottom-up way. Bitcoin has shown that it's possible to create money in a bottom-up way. And so, rather than talking about a basic income, we could also say that let's allow people to collect data, and as they share these data, they would earn money with this. This is my proposal, and so that would be a bottom-up money system rather than what's happening at the moment where the ECB is pumping trillions of euros into the system and doesn't do the trick. So why don't we pump it in from the bottom up as we create these data and measure our environment? And then this would be the basis to turn the digital desert that Europe is at the moment into a digital rainforest with abundance, opportunities for everyone, diversity, and more chances for small and big business. So let's do this together. Thank you.